Hey guys, Howard here. Welcome to the lesson. What I'm going to be covering in this particular one is how I personally connect the blues and blues rock scales, if you want to call them that, together. This is nothing revolutionary, all right? But what I want to stress about that is that this is the most common way, or the most obvious way, I could even say, that a lot of our favorite players use. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Hendrix, Clapton, Page, Beck, the list goes on and on and on. There are obviously other ways to play these very scales. You know, you have all those books out there that have, 10,000 ways to play the same thing. But this is the way you'll see most of these players putting this together. I'm not saying that they don't use other things in addition to this. Occasionally they do. But this is what you'll see them doing most of the time, okay? Now, you may know some of this information already, but bear with me. We're going to have 3 example solos, each one taking things up a notch, and just showing you how to put these simple ideas together. There'll also be a backing track at the end of the lesson so that you can put this stuff to work, improvising, ad-libbing, doing whatever you want to, or just stringing all 3 of these solos together for the purpose of sheer practice. So let's get started. Here we go. The first thing to cover is the basic pentatonic box and blues box, okay? So we're in the key of A, which simply means that we're starting on an A note on the guitar, which happens to be at the 5th fret on the 6th string. And we're going to play 5 to 8, 5 to 7, 5 to 7, 5 to 7, 5 to 8, and 5 to 8. And you definitely want to be able to play that scale from top to bottom and back. When you get down here, by the way, feel free to use your first finger and your ring finger if that's more comfortable. In fact, a lot of players will go back and forth. Maybe they've got a fiery lick, so they'll use the ring finger because it's stronger and maybe even a little bit faster. But it's good to get to learn to use all 4 fingers as well. Now, you can do a ton of stuff with just that blues box, right? You can really do some effective stuff. So you don't want to underestimate the value of using that box. You'll never sort of give that up. It'll just be in addition to other stuff, okay? So real quickly, just spot checking the notes in that scale. There's only 5 notes: A, C, D, E, and G. And then those 5 notes are repeated in an octave: A, C, D, E, G, A, C. And of course, those notes are available all over the fretboard, and that's what we're going to get to. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take that box position and you want to spread it out, play it in a linear way. So I'm going to play it from the 3rd fret to the 12th fret on the guitar. Now I'm starting at a different point, but I'm just starting at another note that's available in that scale. As I said, the notes in the scale are A, C, D, E, and G. So this happens to be a G note on the 3rd fret on the top string, so we want to include that. So we're going to play from G back to A, the root note, okay? So we're only playing 2 notes on that string. Then on the next string, we're going to play 3, 5, 7. So this is a real easy pattern to learn and remember. It's 2 notes on this string, 3 notes on the next string. Then we're going to move to the next string and we're going to play 5 to 7, just 2 notes again. Then we're going to slip down to the 5th fret on the next string and play 3 notes. So it's always 2, 3, 2, 3. And then because of the way the guitar is tuned, we have to slip up to the 8th fret on the 2nd from the bottom string, the B string. But the pattern is the same. We play 2 notes, 8 to 10, and then 8, 10, 12 on the next string. There you have it. Now it's a little trickier to play it backwards, but you definitely want to be able to do that. So here's a good fingering for that. So now what you want to do is you want to combine those two fingerings together. They are literally the same scale, of course. It's not a matter of playing one instead of the other. It's in addition to, if you will. So you can play some stuff in the box and slip up to the long form. The idea is to definitely combine them together. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to turn that into a blues scale, okay? And that's not a big deal. We're just adding one note, but we're adding it throughout the entire scale. So now we're going to play 5 to 8, just like we did before, but on the next string we're going to play 5, 6, and 7. That note in the middle, the one at the 6th fret, is known as the blues note or the flat 5. It's not overly important to know the theory behind it just yet. Just know that it's a flat 5 or a blue note. The next string stays the same, 5 to 7. And then we're going to capture that same blues note an octave higher by playing 5, 7, 8 on the 3rd string. And then the rest of the scale stays the same. But you can hear right away that that flat 5, that blue note, really gives the scale a lot of character and personality. And of course we want to integrate that into the long form as well, but that's pretty simple to do. So we just play 3 to 5, then on the next string we play 3, 5, 6, 7, and you can finger it like that, or you'll probably wind up using one or the other anyway, depending on what you're playing. So it's basically the same idea, 2 notes, but this time we're playing 4 notes on the next string. Then 2 notes, then 4 notes. 2 notes, 4 notes. And again, you just want to combine all of these fingerings together. Now, once you have these fingerings down, once you have these scales wired, you want to jump into this first practice solo. This first practice solo uses nothing but what we've just covered so far, but it kind of shows you how to weave them together and maybe be a little bit creative. Some slides, maybe some hammer-ons, whatever it turns out to be. But it's a great practice solo for you to just get into this stuff and get it moving, okay? So here we go with the first solo. Now the next step to take is to take it up through the rest of the fretboard. We've covered it from about the 3rd fret to the 12th. Now we want to cover it from about there all the way up the fretboard, okay? So the easiest way to do this is to show you how these scales connect, how I personally and a lot of players connect them on the fretboard. If you take a look at that long form blues scale, when you get to the 12th fret on the 1st E string, come up to the 10th fret with your 1st finger. So once again, 12th fret on the 1st string, reach up here to the 10th fret with your 1st finger on the 6th string, and play 10, 11, 12. That's the equivalent of this part of the long form scale. So you're actually starting on the fourth note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you play it from there. So the fingering for that is, we'll just put the tab up on the screen. So again, how you connect that with what you've got going on down here is right off of that 12th fret on the E string. I'm saying that's just a good marker, if you know what I mean. It's a good way to find it if you're not sure where you're at. But once you get it wired, you won't have to do that. You can just jump right into the scale. That's just a great and easy way to find it if you're kind of a little bit lost on these positions. Now, once you get up to that highest note of this scale, place your first finger on that same note, the note that you ended on, and visualize the blues box or the pentatonic box that we had down here. Exact same fingering, it's just a little scrunched up there on the guitar, okay? So that's pretty cool. You've now got the pentatonic and the blues information spread out all along the fretboard, and you want to start combining these together. I think of classic solos like Stairway to Heaven, right? A classic cool guitar solo, and this information that we're covering right here is basically the same information he used for most of that solo. It's really amazing what you can do once you combine these things together. So let's get into the next practice solo, which does exactly that. It just combines all of these scales together now. Now, the last thing I want to cover in this particular lesson is adding a bit of the major pentatonic into the information that we've already used. It gives it a little bit different flavor. You'll probably use the Die Hard blues scale most of the time, but it's nice to integrate this in there a little bit as well. The fingering for the major pentatonic, the one that I think is most useful for you, is actually really easy to wrap your head around. If you know the A minor pentatonic fingering, simply move down 1, 2, 3 frets from where you're at. So we're at the 5th fret and we count 1, 2, 3. Play the exact same fingering there. And what you have is the A major pentatonic. We're just not starting on the root note. The root note is actually that A note right there. And you can also use that. The cool thing about that is it's the exact same fingering, obviously, as the A minor pentatonic. So it's pretty easy to jump back and forth or combine them together. I'm not going to get too heavy into the major pentatonic in this particular lesson, but I do want to introduce you to it in this lesson because I think it's a nice, tasty, stylish thing that you can add in there. So we've got the pentatonic, the major pentatonic box right here. So we'll be borrowing a little bit from that for the next solo example. But also I wanted to show you the long form for that, okay? So that starts on the root note. It starts on the 5th fret on the top string on the A note, and it's just the opposite of the long form minor pentatonic. And what I mean by that is you play 3 notes out the gate, then 2 notes. So it's just the opposite, flip-flop. Then 3 notes, 2 notes, 3 notes, 2 notes. And if you want to play the octave to that box down there, once again, just place your first finger there and play the box. So once again, like I said, I'm not going to go too heavy into it, but I want to incorporate that in at least a little bit as well as kind of an intro to adding that into your playing. So here's example solo number 3, putting it all together. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and there will definitely be a follow-up to this, and hopefully many follow-ups. And there's a backing track coming up right at the end of this lesson so that you can practice these solos or string them all together, mix it up, improvise, do whatever you want to do. But there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with just this amount of information, and you'll find it in tons of classic guitar solos. So enjoy, and I'll see everybody later.